Some stories begin with a scream in the night, others with a whisper. This one begins with a rock, not just any rock, something older than Earth itself, carrying a hunger that waited longer than man has walked upright. It sank into the waters of Ashford Lake, and from that moment, the town was doomed. The ripple became a tide, and the tide wanted blood. Before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Survival Horror Ambience. More terrifying tales await you, if you're brave enough to keep listening. Something fell from the sky. It didn't have a name, not anymore. Long ago, it might have been part of something greater. A mountain, a continent, maybe even a broken crown on some far-off world. That world cracked apart under fire, and this fragment was cast into the stars like a stone skipping across water. It wandered for ages, longer than people have walked the earth, longer than oceans have carried their names. It drifted past lifeless suns and empty planets, through places where no words exist. Time wore at it, chipped it down, but never broke it. Then, one day, Earth reached out and pulled. The shard entered the sky in a streak of fire. To anyone watching, it might have looked like just another shooting star, a wish in the night. But this was different, bigger, heavier. It didn't burn away. It cut through the sky like a bullet and fell into a lake just outside the town of Briar Creek. The water rose high as if something had struck it with a giant hand. The sound rolled across the valley like thunder, though the sky was clear. In a small house nearby, Harold Myers, 71 and half deaf, thought it was a truck accident on Route 9. Darn fool truckers, he muttered, going back to his crossword. His wife nodded absently, not really listening. Out on the dock, two men were fishing. Bait's no good today, grumbled Donnie Clark, cigarette hanging from his lip. Maybe the fish are smarter than you, Ray Martinez teased, popping open a beer with a grin. Donnie smirked. You're only funny when you're drinking. Ray leaned back in his folding chair, letting it creak under his weight. Fish don't bite. It happens. Maybe they're just deeper down. Donnie squinted at the water. The morning fog was thinning, but the lake itself had a strange, oily calm to it. Yeah, well, feels off. Ain't seen a ripple all morning, not even from a boat, as if on cue. A bubble rose up a few feet from their dock, then another. They popped with soft plunks, leaving behind faint circles that spread wider than they should have. Ray cracked open a beer. You worry too much. We'll catch something. He leaned over to tap his line. Maybe the bass just don't like you. Donnie's voice trailed off as he watched the circles fade, his cigarette burning low between his fingers. The smell of the smoke mixed with something else, something sour drifting off the water. Back at the diner, Sheriff Dalton set down his empty cup with a grunt. Hell with it. Refill me, Marge. Marge poured, not noticing that faint shimmer again as the coffee pooled in his cup. Doc Hollis did notice, though. He paused, fork in midair, studying the liquid as though it were an insect under glass. Something wrong, Doc? The sheriff asked. Hollis shook his head, forcing a smile. Nothing you believe. He pushed his plate away. His appetite had gone. Out at the lake, Donnie reeled in his line. His worm was gone. Not chewed, not snapped off. Just gone. The bubbles didn't stop this time. They came in clusters, rising and bursting one after another until the dock itself seemed to shift with the movement. Donnie squatted down, peering at the water. Ray, he said, voice low. That ain't fish. Ray wiped sweat from his temple, though the air was still cool. His gut kept twisting, sharp little pangs rolling into his ribs. Yeah, well, whatever it is, I don't want it. Something pale brushed the surface before slipping back under. The rings spread out wider and wider until they lapped against the dock. Donnie backed away, heart racing. We should go. Ray didn't argue. He tossed his rod onto the boards, grabbed the cooler, and followed. The bloated fish still lay where it had hit, flies already gathering, its open belly writhing faintly with what was left inside. That night, Briar Creek was quiet as ever. Porch lights blinked on, the smell of cut grass and barbecues drifting through the streets. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous, except for the Collins dog whimpering in the backyard before it vomited up a slick, moving coil onto the grass. Except for the Anderson boy, scratching at his arms until red welts bloomed where something thin pressed just beneath the skin. Except for Sheriff Dalton, who sat alone in the dark, glass of water untouched now, watching the faint ripples in the bottom as if the lake itself had followed him home. And out on the reservoir, the bubbles became constant, the water shifting like it had begun to breathe. The morning came on heavy gray clouds hanging low over Briar Creek like a wet blanket. Folks called it fishing weather. Doc Hollis called it a sinus infection waiting to happen. Sheriff Dalton was back at the diner, working on his second plate of bacon and eggs. Marge plopped down beside him. You hear about old Mrs. Bell's dog? She asked. Dalton grunted. Which one? The black one, Max, bit her hand clean through this morning. Never hurt a soul in his life, till today. Dalton raised an eyebrow. Rabies? Vet said no. Doc Hollis leaned over from the next booth, coffee in hand. Dog probably ate something bad. Happens all the time. People forget how much garbage we leave lying around. Dalton wasn't convinced, but he let it go. One weird dog wasn't the end of the world. By afternoon, weird dogs weren't the only problem. Ray Martinez sat slumped on his porch, sweating through his shirt. Donnie had driven him home from the lake the night before after Ray puked twice in the truck bed, cursing the fish, the beer, and his own guts. Now his skin was pale, his lips cracked, his eyes bloodshot. He barely looked alive. "Should call the doc," Donnie muttered, pacing. "Don't need no doctor," Ray croaked. "Just maybe the food wasn't right." Ray doubled over, groaning. Donnie turned away, but a strange, unnatural shimmer caught his eye at the corner of Ray's mouth. "Ray, what's wrong?" Donnie whispered. Ray straightened suddenly, his movements stiff, jerky, as if something inside him was struggling to take control. His eyes widened, blank and unrecognizable, and his voice came out low, strange, and almost not him. "Help me," he rasped. Donnie stumbled back toward the door, heart pounding. Ray stepped forward slowly, unnaturally, a twisted half-smile on his face that didn't belong to him anymore. Donnie bolted through the door and onto the porch. From inside, Ray's voice floated out, flat and hollow. "Hungry." That was only the beginning. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 have shown us how quickly a quiet town can rot from the inside out. But the story is far from finished. The lake is still whispering. The hunger is still spreading. And what comes next will be far worse. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Survival Horror Ambience. More chapters are on the way, and you won't want to miss what happens when the darkness finally takes hold.